Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry about the hiccup here. How's
Morning.
everyone?
Morning.
Good morning.
All right, we've got visual and audio.
Yes.
All right. So the most important lesson today is you do not need to be tech savvy to be a realtor in New England. There you go.
So true. Are folks able to, I know we've got a bunch of folks on video. If you're able to join that way, that would be fantastic. Get a better feel for everybody that's out there. Good morning to everyone. Hope you're doing well. We assume that you're well on your journey through this Ignite series. So we're happy to jump in and hopefully be helpful to you along the way. Today, as you know, we're here to talk about prospecting. My name is Kirk Butterfield. Despite the name tag, I guess I'm Tiffany Hampton for the moment. But, I'm Kirk Butterfield. I'm a commercial real estate broker, KW Commercial, out of the Portland Market Center. And I'm fortunate enough to have Drew Stevens with me here to help facilitate today. So I think between the two of us, we can hopefully be helpful to you guys and talk prospecting. There are a few things on the commercial side that we do that are a little bit different than what you folks do on the folks who are joining us with intention on the residential side. And I think Drew can smooth some of my rough edges there, hopefully. But I've been with KW Commercial for about 3.5 years now. I've been back in commercial brokerage for the last 10 years. So if anybody has questions that they're thinking of pursuing a commercial angle to their business, I'm happy to add some context to that. But as I think we'll all get to and understand and find out, prospecting is kind of a universal language. We all need to do it. We got to fill the funnel. We have to create the contacts, and how well we do that and how we connect with people determines, I think, how well we do in this business. I don't know if you take a minute to introduce yourself too, Drew, and anything you might want to add to that.
Absolutely, thanks. So I am in residential. Drew Stevens, I've been with KW for a little less than 5 years now, and I've been in real estate for a little less than 5 years. So I have never worked with anyone else. And I've basically covered the southern Maine, like around the Portland area. And hopefully today with prospecting, I don't know how many of you have experience in other lines of work, but a lot of times, a lot of the prospect work that you do in real estate is exactly this. I call it the same chicken, different sauce from other lines of work. It's really about just putting yourself in front of people. So hopefully we'll have some fun and make it interactive.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, no, I would agree. When I first started out in sales and marketing, I remember my boss telling me, sales is a contact business, and you know, pun intended and double entendre intended. I mean, if you're not making contacts, if you're not collecting contacts and moving those contacts through a pipeline, you're just not creating a book of business that's going to serve you well. So it's active. Get out there and meet folks, and it is very much a contact business. So hopefully at the end of our work today, you'll be able to, you know, kind of differentiate between prospecting and marketing, and have an understanding from a big picture standpoint what prospecting is and looks like, and probably even more importantly, understand, you know, a little bit more about, you know, the different elements of prospecting that fit well with you, your personality, your contacts, the type of people you meet on a daily basis. And that will, I believe, allow you to put together a kind of a working plan to go out there and be effective. So with that said, you know, maybe we could just take a second and kind of go around. And I'd like to hear a little bit about, you know, your background. You know, it would help me, I think, and Drew as well, to kind of meet you where you're at. So if you could just introduce yourself, maybe give an explanation of where you are in your real estate journey, your real estate career, how long you've been at this, and if in fact, you've been prospecting and working that side of the business, just a little bit of background. I'm just going to call a name as it appears on my screen. I know this can kind of get a little kludgy sometimes with multi-screens and stuff, but Lauren, do you mind starting us off? Unmute and just briefly say, who you are, how long you've been in the business and what your focus is right now.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I've never used my headphones. I'm at a Starbucks today. I'm Lauren Wentworth, and I just got my license a few weeks ago, and I'm coming off of 11 years of collegiate coaching. I'm really excited to get started in real estate, grow my business now, but I'm really just getting started. So I'm trying to absorb as much as I can before I truly get out there and sign on some clients. But I am with Coastal in Portsmouth.
Great. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Wednesday.
Hi, good morning. I am unfortunately in that position, still waiting for my license to come in. So I haven't been able to do much other than training and making plans as far as, when I'm ready to get out there. And, but I have connected with family and friends to let them know that I'm in real estate. But other than that, my hands are kind of tied. So,
well, it's never too early to start, building the database, take that family and friends list and just keep expanding it. So thank you for that. Anthony. You're still on mute.
Okay, there we go. Hello guys, I have to find the window. My name's Anthony. I live in the Seacoast. I work at the Portsmouth office, and I am new to real estate. I got my license May 1st, and I'm really excited. I went to we had a little realtor event last night. Got my little push pin. Oh my God, I have no face. I look like that Invisible Man book. What the? Just trying that thing out today. This does not work. Okay, but yeah, I'm excited. My last job was a manager at a furniture store, and I just kind of wanted to do something that was like more like a business as opposed to just, helping someone else's business. So I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to start like a, power washing or this and that? And, I was kind of into real estate stuff and investing. And I was like, let me try to do the realtor. I've never really done sales. And I'm like, I'll jump into this, and I'm glad I did.
Good for you. Welcome aboard. Trevor.
Okay, so I originally started out as a Ford technician, and then got into sales with a company called LKQ. They were an auto recycler. They ended up buying out Keystone Aftermarket and a reman company. Did that for 18 years. Then last year in April, technically at the end of June, they used COVID as an excuse to lay off a whole bunch of us senior reps to save money. So here I am. I was toying around the idea of starting a bunch of businesses, whether it be a handyman thing or whatever. And I said, I had this opportunity. I went to the class, and I'm pumped up. I've been doing it for 6 months now, and haven't made any official money yet, but reaching out to all my old clients, trying to make something happen. Most of them are an hour and a half to 2 hours from my house, but I'm calling them, telling them I'm willing to travel. I'm actually going to see someone right after this class out in Brockton to see if he wants to sell his shop.
Nice. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yep. I don't know if we have multiple Jims. Jim Gibbons.
Roxy.
How you doing?
Good.
I'm Jim Gibbons. I'm in Stowe, Massachusetts. I'll be working with Coatlars Realty Group out of KW Northwest Boston. I come from a sales background, years of experience in inside sales, some outside sales, some customer success, done all kinds of prospecting. We used to joke around, people say, cold calling is dead. And I used to say, cold calling is dead because we're killing it. Because we just, we cold called literally every kind of business there is. I haven't done much selling to people that aren't, it's mostly been B2B business. So there's going to be slight transitions there, but other than that, I'm looking forward to reaching out to my database. Just got started. This is literally, I don't think I've been in Ignite 1 week yet.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
Taryn?
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name's Taryn. I live in the Lakes region of New Hampshire, so work out of the Wolfboro office. My background has been as a stay-at-home mom of 5 kids. So my sphere of influence has to do with a lot of families, a lot of sports. All my kids played for the regional high school. And so I have one son going into his freshman year of college, and I hope to gain that sphere of influence as well. And I've had my license about 3 months now.
Fantastic. Good. Welcome. Hillary?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Hillary Tipping. I'm out of Needham, Massachusetts. I'm in the Boston Southwest office. My background is 15 years of sales, marketing, and PR. I've done a lot of B2B and B2C. And my most recent experience was in retail, and obviously with COVID, that took a huge hit. So I used that to get my license, which I've had for maybe 2 months. So I'm working out of one of our offices here in Needham, and I've taken all of my past clients from all of my previous sales and marketing jobs and hoping to convert them. So that's where I am now.
Fantastic. Thank you. Arthur?
Hi, my name's Artie White. I'm living in Western Mass. I work out of the Long Meadow office. I've had my license about a month. I'm coming from just over 40 years in the restaurant business. And just before COVID, the last owner of the family that I worked for closed it. There were new owners. I went back. It just wasn't a good fit for me. And one of my former employees is also a sales agent for KW, and she got me into it. So far, I like it, and haven't had any real sale or made any money yet. But I had two buyers that I'm working with, and they kind of fell in my lap through friends and family. So I know that works.
It does indeed. Well, welcome. Good. Best of luck. David Elliott.
I'm with Portland, Maine, not Oregon. I've been involved with real estate for decades. I had to withdraw my license for a while because I was quite ill, and I'm coming back, associate broker license, hopefully first of next month.
Well, welcome back, David. Looks like Lisbeth might have stepped away from her camera for a second. Stephen Clark.
Hi, I'm a retired paramedic out of Arizona. My wife and I decided we're going to relocate to New England. I'm originally from Massachusetts. So we just got my license about 3 weeks ago and just enjoying the classes, learning how to do this.
Fantastic. Thank you. Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Valero. I'm from the Keller Williams North Central. We have 3 kind of like sister groups. Am I allowed to say sister still? Kind of little brokerages. So I'm out of the Bolton office. I've been an agent for about 7 years. I was with Coldwell Banker before. I'm sorry. I'm just here. I've taken Ignite 1.0. I'm just here because I like to learn, and I'm a weirdo like that. Surprisingly, since moving to Keller Williams the last 2 years, my business has increased a whole lot because I feel like you guys have this platform that makes you excited about getting to know the market, getting to know people, and actually wanting to serve them with a more positive outlook. So it's not super cutthroat. It's competitive, of course, it's the business we're in, but you definitely make it fun for everybody. I went to school for fashion merchant and minor in marketing and got my bachelor's degree. I'm not going to say the dates because then I'll date myself and I'm old. So I got out of the market and I realized like, hey, like either I can still work in sales or I can kind of be my own boss and do something else I enjoy, which is interior design. So I also work in construction currently as an interior designer and stager. So yeah, just do a little bit of everything. So let me know if you guys need any referrals if you're not gotten your licenses yet, but worst comes to worst, pick my brain.
Great. Thanks, Jessica. That's a great little transition story. I don't think anybody holds any offense to any other brokerages, but I will tell you, my experience has been really similar to yours in that, you know, Keller Williams is a very kind of win-win environment. We like to see everyone do well. Everyone can, you know, kind of collaborate and cooperate and kind of create more by helping. So I think that's very on point. Noah?
Hi, I'm Noah Goodrich. I live in New Durham, New Hampshire. I am in the same boat. I've been waiting for my license for 5 weeks now, as of today. So I did sign with Keller Williams in Wolfboro, and yeah, I'm just kind of doing the training and doing whatever I can and letting as many people know that, you know, I did pass the test and the license is on its way. So I'm trying to just build that reputation there for now.
Must be frustrating. I know a lot of things are moving slow these days. I will tell you though, like and we'll get into this a little bit. One of the things, you know, that we're in a service business, and you don't need a license necessarily to find ways to provide value to people. Try to, you know, figure out, you know, if you have friends that need contractors, painters, whatever, just kind of get in the habit of, you know, filling holes for people, trying to figure out how can I help? How can I be of service? You know, it's a mindset that, you know, works with a broker license and, you know, without one as well. So, you know, build that database, build those contacts, try to be of service. Those things have legs. Those things create value. So.
Yeah, my wife actually started her own small business locally. So it's doing house cleaning. So we're using that as an opportunity to start talking to homeowners and, you know, maybe make that conversation happen.
Yeah, perfect. Very good. Elizabeth?
Hi, sorry, I heard my name earlier. I was just looking for my son's bottle. So I've been a stay-at-home mom for a few years now. Prior to that, I was in manufacturing and a waitress. So now that my kids are getting older, I wanted to start my own career. So I started looking into real estate, and I'm out of the Portsmouth office, and I've just been trying to get into the habit of talking to other seasoned agents and inspectors and lenders and get that terminology and dialogue going so I feel more confident reaching out to prospects.
Great. Welcome aboard. Bree? Is it Salamone or Salamone?
Yep, Salamone. Hi,
Welcome.
everyone. Yeah, I'm Bree Salamone. I work out of the Chestnut Hill office. I've actually been licensed for about 7 months now. I originally started when I joined Keller Williams as part of a team. After about the first 3 months, realized that that was not the best fit for me. So we parted ways, and I've been doing everything on my own since. So I'm kind of going a little bit backwards and doing the initial training over again because we didn't do that as part of team members. So I'm kind of a little bit backwards, but I've already closed about 5 deals so far this year. I've actually got another one closing today, so I'm going to be in and out a little bit. Yeah, but it's been busy and it's been good. I'm fortunate that I joined the team because I learned a lot of the client interaction from the beginning. It's more now just the operations part of it that I'm trying to pick up of, you know, how to structure my day and do transactions and whatnot. But as far as prospecting, I was going to say that I've primarily been doing golden letter mailing campaigns, and they have been working very well for me. So if you don't know what it is, Google it. But basically, written and postal mail is not dead. Just want to say that. But yeah. So
no, thanks for sharing that. Yep. Absolutely. I guess Jim's seconding that. Yep. Some of you folks that aren't on camera, I'll just check in. I don't know. Kiera Pelletier, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I'm Kiera Pelletier and I work out of the Boston Northwest office. I got my license about a month ago and I'm brand new to real estate. I've never even had like a sales job. So I am starting brand new. I'm still working another job, so I'm kind of trying to figure out how to balance that and still be successful so that I can eventually be full-time. And right now I've just been working on trainings, meeting people in the office and learning how to use command, setting up social media pages and just kind of getting started.
Terrific. Thank you for that. Cassie? You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Hi.
Good morning. We're just doing basic introductions. If you maybe just tell us how long you've been in real estate and what your focus is.
Yeah, so I joined Keller Williams in early March. And what do you mean like focus? Sorry.
That's okay. Yep. Are you on a team? Are you an individual contributor? Are you looking to focus on buying, selling? If there's a particular approach that you're focused on.
No, I wouldn't say there's like any like particular like buying and selling. I'm just trying to get familiar with everything and do whatever like I can.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm not
good.
confined to like one side, buyer or seller.
You know, one thing when you get into this business, I've found this personally, it's really easy to kind of be a generalist and, you know, accept anything that comes your way and all of that. And you may choose to do that. One bit of advice might be to try to really figure out a tight slice of what you're good at, whether it's first time buyers and because you live in an apartment complex of 50 people, or, you know, you're in the Lakes region and you know it well. And so you want to be, you know, a lakefront specialist or whatever it might be, but to really try to figure out a small slice, put down 4 stakes and say, this is what I'm going to do first. This is what I'm going to really understand first. Because there's so much information in this business that can be overwhelming. And one of the ways to tame that, in my opinion, a little bit, is to kind of bring those stakes in a little and say, you know, this is what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to really understand what first-time home buyers are going through. And, you know, understand everything about the financing of first-time, you know, home buyers and just try to become. Once you do that, you can certainly elevate and increase, you know, those 4 stakes in the ground. But to have a place where you gain true comfort first, I think can really be helpful. And it gets back to what we were talking about before on the prospecting side of really understanding, you know, where your strengths are. You know, are you good knocking on doors? You know, or are you better off, you know, with more volume, making phone calls? You know, what works for you? So. Thanks for helping to raise that point, Cassie. I appreciate that. Amy?
I am Amy Frazier. I am with Keller Williams Coastal in New Hampshire, and I live in the Manchester area. I was an event coordinator at the Puritan Back Room for 20 years. And with COVID, everything shut down in the events world and I got laid off there. So just starting over, and this is something I've always been interested in doing. So I've only had my license for a few weeks. So on the learning side right now, just trying to get some information and go from there.
I've had my license for 10 years and I'm still on the learning side. So I think if you have that mindset, you're probably well served, right? Good for you. Best of luck. Taylor, are you with us? You there? No?
I am here. I just had surgery. So I'm going to keep my video off and it's kind of hard for me to talk.
Okay.
I just started, I just got my license in November and I'm on a team with my mom. My mom is my team leader, so that's been really helpful. and generating more leads. She's been giving me some of hers, so I'm really fortunate for that.
Fantastic. Well, best of luck and speedy recovery.
Thank you.
You bet. Emmett, are you with us?
I am. How's it going?
Going well. How are you?
I'm good. So it is 90 degrees and I do not have an AC. So I'm going to keep my video off most of the day because you guys don't want to see me progressively get sweatier as we go on here. But yeah, I'm Emmett. I'm in Market Center 184 in Rhode Island. I got my license in March. I'm currently actually just got the email that I'm closing my second transaction. I focus mostly on buyers. I like the empathy and the excitement of getting people into homes that they really, really want. Would like to start selling at some point, but it's definitely something I need to work on. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to take away from Ignite.
Great. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Best of luck. Carrie?
Hi. Oh, hi there.
Hi.
So I also have my video off most of the day because I have my 1-year-old with me who is sometimes happy and sometimes not. But so I'm out of the Portsmouth office. She's not happy right now, obviously, when I'm talking. I have my background is in elementary teaching, and I've actually had my license since January, but I was a remote teacher all year long. And so I am just getting on my way here with real estate and trying to build a business where I can be home with my daughter and have that freedom to do that and serve my community. So yeah.
Nice. Well, welcome. She's adorable, by the way.
Thank you.
Even when fussy. William? William Lehman with us?
Yeah. Okay. It's Bill Lehman. I retired from the Haverhill Police Department about a year and a half ago. But I still work part-time, which I'm doing today, so I may not be participating. I'll be listening mostly. Been a licensed broker for 35 years. For 31 years, I was not allowed to practice in the police department. So I started up again. Last year was my first full year. I was with Coca Early, made the top 10%. Then I moved up to Carroll, New Hampshire, where I went from a town from 65,000 people to 800. So I started working again down here only to get some contact because all the guys on the police department, which I got 2 today that are looking for houses. So I'll be doing this probably once a week at least to get to know the new 40 guys that came on since I retired. But anyone needs anything up north, rent, vacation properties, investments, I'm your guy up in the mountains for hiking. That's why I'm up there.
Fantastic. Thanks, Bill. Nick Bridgewood. Nick, you there?
I am. Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Nick Bridgewood. I am working out of the North Central office out here in Central Western Mass, I guess wherever I can go. I have been in sales for, I've been a sales manager for about 13 years, mainly in the tobacco vape category, consumer electronics. I've done a lot of B2B sales, business to consumer. A lot of that stuff. And I've been licensed for roughly about 6 months. Fingers crossed, I got my first closing set up for 8/2. So I'm a couple weeks away from that, but finally some money's coming in the door. But yeah, out of Ignite, really, I need to get some listings. That's kind of where I'm pushing here. And obviously prospecting is a huge part of that. So.
Yep, absolutely. Good. Thanks for sharing that. Nina? Nina Oliveri, you with us?
Right here, sorry. Yep, so my name is Nina Oliveri. I got my license almost a year ago, doing this part-time. Initially, I started off with a small team. It wasn't a good fit for me, so I didn't really learn the nitty-gritty part of being an agent. Because there was a transaction coordinator and so on and so forth. So it was just really more supporting my team leader in her transactions, especially since I was just part-time and I had my initial thought was to just be a showing agent. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into at all, just because I was, you know, it was my neighbor, and she said, oh, you know, I need a I'm sorry, I need a showing agent, you know, would you be interested in doing that? So I got my license almost a year ago, as I said. And then, you know, I saw more of real estate, and my background is in commercial interior design, mostly healthcare and corporate work. I have done some staging. I have had, since I left the team, I have had 3 transactions. But again, I only do this part-time. So I'm just kind of learning, and I hope to learn how to market myself, because that is something I'm very poor at. All this modern technology is killing me. So
it can be overwhelming. Thank you for sharing that. Falasha, forgive me if I'm not pronouncing it well.
Nope, that was good. You said it properly. It was correct. You pronounced it. It's Falasha. Yeah, thank you. So I'm working out of the Boston metro area office. I'm sorry. I live in Hingham. I had my license back in 2010, and I was really into reality TV at that time, and had an unrealistic expectation of what being an agent meant. So I immediately gave up. And then now here we are, 2021. I renewed my license, got it activated 2020. I'm an entrepreneur. Naturally, I have my own business here and in Jamaica. And I mean, COVID is probably the primary reason why I said I need to get my license back and get back into real estate. And here I am. I don't know that I have a focus just yet. I'm still trying to figure out like how I want to work, because obviously in Boston, there's a lot of things happening in the market, and where I fit in, I'm not quite sure yet. So I'm learning, I'm marketing, branding, working on that stuff that I do know how to do. I'm just working, you know, putting the word out and contacting my sphere and letting them know and see what kind of comes my direction.
Great.
That's a good segue, because we're talking about prospecting today. Keep prospecting.
Indeed. Luke, are you there? Luke Zagrodny? No. Joyce Smallwood?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I've been in real estate about a year, only part-time, because so many things have happened since the COVID. And I really don't know where I'm heading to, but this is the second Ignite I've taken, and it has been a good help for me. But right now, I really don't know where I'm going. I still have another family member that is sick, so most of the times I'm in the hospital with my husband, and I don't know. It's just part-time. I really don't have, I really don't know where I'm going, but I do want to do real estate. So I do it every day, maybe for about 2 to 3 hours. I am prospecting and sending out my cards and calling my spares and stuff like that. But I had one house I sold. Well, me and another agent, which he did all the work. So I'm still kind of like a baby, like a fish out of water. So I'll get there.
It sounds like you will. I wish you the best health-wise too, for you and your family. You know, one of the beautiful things of real estate is that, you know, you can, you know, give it a small amount of time and let momentum build slowly, or you can plow yourself into it, you know, 100% and just try to build a business, you know, quickly. And both of them are entirely possible, and momentum can build over time. So just keep at that.
Thank you.
You bet. You bet. Jennifer, Kim, are you with us? Jennifer? No? Brianna? Brianna Dow? No. Did I miss anybody? Well, thanks for that. I know it took a little while to get through, but it really, oh, there's Jennifer. It really takes, it really helps me to kind of get a sense of where everyone's at. And I appreciate you taking the time to help do that. Anybody want to take a stab at, you know, their definition of prospecting, what prospecting is to you?
Prospecting is just generating leads through contacts that you make throughout, you know, phone calls or go through the community, things like that.
I like that definition, Stephen. Anyone else have a sense of what prospecting is to them?
Oh, like for me tonight, I belong to a club or late this afternoon, and they're having a car show, and I'm gonna go there and just introduce myself to everybody that has a car there and people that belong to the club, and just let them know that I'm now in the real estate business and try and get them to interact with me.
I have a suggestion. Do you have a name tag?
Do I have a name tag?
Yeah, I know. And I do wear it every time I go. The same thing. I go to the restaurant I used to work for. I put the name tag on and make sure I have a pocket full of cards because I worked there 40 years. A lot of people know me and they don't know that's what I'm doing. So for me, that's my own little guy, my own little gold mine to go because it's people that know who I am. So it's easier for me than even calling.
Good input. Prospecting, I think, you know, is exactly that. It's the active approach to folks in the marketplace. You know, you look at marketing, that's kind of like the big picture, social media. How do I get my name out there? How do I, you know, just make myself more well-known, hopefully get people to, you know, click on me or, you know, pick up the phone and call me or text me. That's kind of the passive element that supports the prospecting. But the prospecting, as you guys mentioned, is the kind of feet on the street. You know, it's getting out there, it's being seen, it's being willing to talk to people, tell them, you know, what you're doing and, you know, finding out how you can help them. I bring the service piece back a little bit because it really becomes crucial if you're coming from that angle of, you know, contribution and giving where, you know, how can I help you? You know, what do you need these days? And you can't always fill it, but you can always try. And if people feel you're genuine when you're doing that, I think it'll make your prospecting far, far more effective. Drew, I don't know if you have observations you'd add to that or.
I mean, I like the definitions that people threw out there. It's just, like you said, it's connecting. And I think the number one thing people should take away today when they leave this session is there is no one way to this is not a Kirk coming up here and saying, here's step 1, 2, 3 to prospecting, go out there and do this. There's 27 different people on this and there's 27 different ways you can do it. But as long as you're connecting with people, that's what matters in a way that's relevant to you.
Well said. We have in the Portland Market Center, I'm getting some feedback. I don't know if you guys are too, but in the Portland Market Center, there's a broker named Mark Gupp who kind of made his hay by door knocking, and he'd bring his, I think it was a golden doodle. I've talked to Mark before, I forget the story, but just he had to have his dog on his leash and he just walked the neighborhood and just knocked on doors. And that was his thing for a long, long time. Mark's built a team over the last 10 or 12 years that, you know, they're doing, I think it's in excess of $40 million in annual business. And just an impressive database of people and network. And it all started with a guy who didn't know anybody, but had a willingness to go out there and knock on doors, meet people, and was very approachable, listened, had a, just kind of a very approachable demeanor. And, when you have a lovable golden doodle on the leash, it just makes more connections. And that worked for Mark, and so I think, you just have to, everybody, we all have to figure out, what's our golden doodle, what's our strategy, what's our approach, and how do we best do that? And if you start there, with what we're good at and what we enjoy doing, you're going to have more durability in your willingness to do it. You're going to have more enjoyment, chances are, in doing it, and you're going to have greater success because you're going to do it more and you're going to stick with it longer. So I think those are all really important but prospecting is hard. And the other thing that I would say is put it on your calendar, and make a literal commitment to it so that it's not just when I have time, I'm going to do this. This is literally what is going to drive your business. I mean, hopefully everyone has picked up The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, but the number recap within that, whereby if you can build your database to 1,000 people, and if you know that, typically every 5 years, someone is buying or selling a property, that means that within your database, you got 200 people on an annual basis that are transacting. So if you're staying in touch with them, if you're providing service to them, you may not get all of their business, but even if you cut, 25, 30%, that's potentially 50, to 60 closings a year coming from your database. If you handle it right, manage it right, but you got to build it and you got to keep connecting with people. So, I mean, I think if you start with that framework in mind, the big picture perspective, that's what I'm working to. And all this prospecting is adding, quality names into my database so that, I'm creating a book of business. To me, that's the context for which this all makes sense. I don't know if that hopefully makes sense for you.
Can I add something to that, Kirk?
Please.
So from everybody talking about their experience so far, there were some people who have already had some transactions under their belt and some people who haven't. And I would just say, on a personal note, I didn't have my first closing for 9 months. And sometimes I'd see other people starting and saying, wow, I just had my first closing. I just had my second closing. And it was, maybe 4-6 weeks into the business or 8 weeks into the business, they were talking about that. And I would say it really doesn't matter. No one ever asked me, how was your first 6 months in real estate, Drew? What was your success then? Zero conversation about that. So just stay focused on where you want to go and it will happen. You're just a farmer right now, planting seeds and nurturing, and eventually those fruit are going to come. So just quick note for anyone who hears that sometimes and gets a little discouraged if you haven't had anything yet that's actually closed, it will happen. And it's like Jiffy Pop. Once it starts going, it's crazy. So hang in there.
That's good stuff. And it's so true. If you have that first closing, within the first couple months of, being in the business, sometimes that can be a net negative effect because, you think it's going to come easy. The best time to jump on the phone or to kind of knock on doors is after you've had that success because, you're feeling good, you've got momentum. The best thing you can do is not just sit back and say, I made my month, but to say, how am I going to make next month? And how am I going to build the business that's going to serve me, 5 years out? So hopefully that's helpful. Don't be discouraged if it's taken a little while. If you're doing the right things, then the outcome will happen. You just have to keep doing those things and keep getting a little bit better. I assume that everyone's had some level of scripting practice at this point and, going through the Spark and whatnot. Does everybody, just general show of hands, does everybody feel comfortable, within their primary prospecting mode? Thank you, David. That they have internalized a script at this point. Is that fair to say? I know when I got first into the business, I hated scripts. I hated them. I felt like, oh, this is canned. This is not me. This is really a kind of a lousy, way to approach things. And I fought it. I fought it internally really hard for a long time. And then I realized that what it was doing was giving me an opportunity to understand sort of the pros and cons of what I was doing, and to anticipate the objections that I was likely to get. And so by doing that, understanding and internalizing it, it gave me a far, far better opportunity to really listen and be in the conversation, with other folks, as opposed to, just being in my own head and thinking, what am I going to say next? And to me, that was tremendously helpful. And I would recommend, if you haven't really got there yet, if you haven't really found a script that resonates with you, find one, tweak one, work it, and get super comfortable and make it yours, so that that piece is nailed down. And then you can really be present within your prospecting calls, within your opportunities to meet people and gain more value from that. Yeah, Drew, did you have something?
Nope. Scripting is the highest level of customer service. Get good at them.
All right, let me recalibrate.
I have a question.
Yes.
I brought this up the other day, and someone said that I was looking for a shortcut, but I'm not looking for a shortcut, but I'm interested in hearing creative ways that you've gone about prospecting. I mean, you have to keep it interesting and keep it fun. And, I know there are going to be days where you're just picking up the phone and you have to get through X number of calls. I've been in inside sales forever. But are there creative things that you guys have done that have paid off for prospecting? It's not looking for a shortcut to skip the hard work, but it's a way that it might pay off a little bit more for you.
Hey, Kirk, can I grab that one?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Be purposeful, Jim. That's the key. So there is no magic secret to prospecting except be purposeful. So some people go to church and prospect. Some people go to their local coffee shop in the morning, not because they need a cup of coffee to function, but because they know they're going to bump into 5 people they know. When I go to the grocery store, it's an hour and a half. It's not 20 minutes because I'm bumping into people, talking to people. I'm purposeful about that. Some people pick up the phone and make 100 calls a day. That's how they do it. It's not about finding a unique way to do it. It's about finding a way that you can do it and just actually do the activity. If you door knock, you're going to talk to a certain number of people. If you make phone calls, you might be able to talk to more people because it's just quicker. So some people would rather do 100 phone calls and make 5 good contacts. Someone else, like Kirk was telling the story of Mark Gupp, he might knock on 20 doors and make 5 contacts. Either way, you got 5 contacts, and that's what's important, is that you're making the contacts. Does that address your question?
That's definitely helpful.
Yeah, I like it too, Drew. And the other things too, and it probably should go without saying, but make sure you capture them. Make sure you're putting them in command. You do all the hard work, create the energy, meet folks, capture them, follow up with them, put them on a drip plan, and make sure that you are touching them on a regular basis, so that it's not just a one-time thing, and that you're finding ways to add value. I will tell you, on the commercial side, I try to do a lot of my prospecting with the purpose of filling a hole. For instance, if I know I have a qualified buyer, let's say in this case, it's an investor, somebody wants to buy something between a 5 and a 10 unit building. and they're qualified, they've got the cash, they're ready to go. I try to make my prospecting built around that person. So I will look at all the expired multifamilies that fit that category, and I'll call into those folks. And, you know, at the same time where I'm trying to create a relationship and gain some credibility with the folks that I'm calling into, my direct purpose, I also have an opportunity to put a deal together because I've got someone that's looking for exactly that. Now, there aren't a lot of properties these days that are expiring that, you know, in the income world that don't have a lot of warts attached to them. They were either way overpriced or the building had problems with it. And so you have to be able to solve some of those problems along the way as well, or have a real conversation with the seller about why it was overpriced and help educate them as to, you know, if they really do want to sell it, then some adjustments will become necessary. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a dual faceted prospecting approach. I'm trying to create a new relationship at the same time that I'm bringing value if they're still looking to sell. So I don't know if that's helpful to you at all too. And it's a little bit of a one-off, but you know, it served me well over time. And the perception from the person receiving the call is that, hey, you know, this guy's not just trying to list my property. He has something of value. He's working with somebody that's actively in the marketplace. So if you can kind of think a step or two ahead in terms of what value you can bring to those conversations, then all of a sudden it's not like what they can do for you. It's how you can actually help them and help solve a problem for them. So,
Kirk, Trevor has his hand up.
Go ahead, Trevor.
Thank you. I got a quick question. I've been noticing this lately in my area. A lot of quick price adjustments after, say, 2 weeks. Yesterday, one popped up in my area, $100,000 price drop in I think a 1 week, actually. How detrimental in this hot market for a seller is that? Is that not going to really affect it in this market?
That's a loaded question. How detrimental is it to that little seller?
Well, I couldn't believe it. I when I saw the house go up, I said, geez, that seems a little high for that house, you know, and I'm new, but I'm still like, Then all of a sudden a week later, it's down to 100,000. I was like, whoa.
Right. So each, I mean, everyone's area that they're working in is probably specific to that area, but there's some general themes that we've seen, and Kirk's been in real estate a lot longer than I have, but even in the number of years I've been in real estate, I used to get emails all the time with price reductions. It was a normal, just daily thing. I'd get emails from realtors that were promoting price. Of course, they always call it a price, you know, improvement or something like some other euphemism, but price reductions. In the last year, I never got any. I mean, not a single price reduction email until about roughly 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, maybe at the most. All of a sudden, they're starting to come back a little bit. And what you're seeing is that the market was so hot and people are just throwing prices out there and it's still selling. And now there's starting to be a little bit of a reality check. So that's actually a pretty normal thing to have price reductions in a normal market. We just have been in a very abnormal situation for the last year and a half. Was that kind of what you think?
And I was also wondering if some realtors will just say, sure, yeah, let's list it at that price, just to get the deal, and then quickly they say it's never going to happen, we got to drop the price.
Sure.
I think
Definitely.
some realtors are doing that.
Wow. Why? What is your brother?
Thank you.
Hey, Wednesday, can you mute, please?
You know, people keep saying that. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's because I have my computer on. Does it still sound like?
There we go.
There she goes. Trevor, it's a great point. You know, on the commercial side, we haven't seen as much of the wild swings, I think, as the residential brokers have seen. But I've certainly been around enough to know that, you know, when prices are, you know, cascading up, it's a guessing game. You know, folks are just not really sure, you know, where the market is. And so, you kind of take a shot at it. And it is a moving target, as Drew mentioned. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that there's folks out there that in certain coastal communities or certain markets, you can push the envelope. And so, the reality of it is when you make a guess that's too high, you better do a reality check soon and try to fix it. But you do lose the benefit. I think I've talked to Drew about this too. If you price below the market, you can let the market drive the price up with multiple offers and that sort of thing. And you're on the kind of winning side of it, where you're not trying to catch a falling knife. And, it just gets dangerous sometimes when you overshoot the market. So, we could talk a long time about, strategies, pricing strategies and that sort of thing. But, I think it is helpful, because when you're out there prospecting, you're going to get the questions, hey, I was thinking of it. What do you think my house is worth? And, so one conversation leads into another. So I certainly don't blame you for asking that question, but certainly is a conversation for another day, right?
One more part of that, as a realtor, as an experienced realtor, when you see something that dramatic, what goes through your mind when you see that?
That's an opportunity for us. The more people are out there overpricing properties and having them sit on the market, and they're not taking care of their clients the way they should be, that's opportunity. That means that house could end up expiring and I'll get that listing. I mean, I've sold multiple properties. I'm sure Kirk sold multiple properties where it expired with another agent, and then it gives us a chance to get in there and approach it a little differently and see if we can get better results.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a sense as to how strategic you guys are right now with regard to your prospecting. Have you been able to kind of create a personal game plan? Or are you in the process of creating that game plan when it comes to prospecting? More the latter, is it fair to say? More the latter. Trying to learn, trying to understand, and trying to create that game plan.
If you, sorry, Kirk, just on the bottom right, there's reactions. So if you want to respond to a question or anything, you can always go to reactions and just touch the thumbs up or raised hand, that just to say that you're agree with whatever is being said. Sorry, go ahead, Kirk.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Helpful. I appreciate the participation, but sometimes it can be tough too to know when to jump in and not. So I think that's a good point, Drew. Appreciate that. I'm having trouble with I had another screen open with your course handbook, and for some reason I'm having some trouble with that view right now. On mine, it is page 6, the lead generation model. I don't know if you guys can open to essentially the funnel, the lead generation model funnel. You guys able to find that? So just to kind of put a further clarification, the top of the funnel is your efforts to prospect, augmented by your efforts at marketing. So how sophisticated are you, from a marketing standpoint with social media and that sort of thing to support your prospecting efforts? But that literally becomes the very top part of the funnel. And, how quickly do you get that database to 1,000? It really comes down to those two key elements at the top. How many people can I touch on a very active, direct basis? And then, I personally, I'm kind of a LinkedIn guy. I've been a reluctant Facebook user on the commercial side. For many years, I felt like it wasn't applicable. I've been dragged kind of slowly into, Facebook, and I am using it some now. It's not my preference. It's not where I want to be. I'm not an Instagram guy, but if you are, and I know, a lot of, the millennials and the younger generation into this, the opportunity to augment your prospecting with strong, social media cannot be understated. And, it's funny, I was watching something the other day. Actually, it was a little while ago. If you ever have a chance to take a course through Keller Williams with a guy named Gene Rivers, Gene, do it in a heartbeat. Gene teaches a course called Quantum Leap. And he's fantastic. He's just a fantastic speaker and teacher and educator. And he was describing someone on his team that had just started out in the business and had listed, and this was in Florida, and she had listed a place that was kind of in a more rundown section of town. But adjacent to that was, I think, the inland waterway and a dock. And she took a photo of herself on the dock looking across the way to like a multi-million-dollar home and said, hey, I'm just at one of my listings checking in with everybody, and so it was just a clever way to shift perception. She didn't show her house. She was near the house that she had listed, but she had used, an augmentation, of what she was doing to create the element of elevated perception. And so, I think we're not here to talk about the marketing piece. That is for another day, but I just want to mention it because it is distinctly different, and it's a great tool, but a different tool to augment what we do to touch people, on a direct basis. So I love the leads funnel, the prospecting funnel. It does a great job of kind of influencing how much effort we need to make on that top side to get to, the activities of closings on the bottom side. I'm just looking at the time, mindful that it's 10:15. I'm thinking it might be a decent time to just give everybody a chance to, have a bathroom break and maybe take 10 minutes. If we got back at say 10, I'll turn things back up at 10:24. And if everybody could be back on by 10:25, that would be fantastic. Sound good?
Great, thank you.
You bet, thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We'll give folks a few more seconds anyway to get reconnected.
I have a question about commercial real estate. Has that changed a lot because of COVID?
It has in certain verticals, David. The hospitality vertical was really decimated at first. The restaurant business has been deeply affected, some for the better. Some restaurants found ways to do curbside and takeout, and they thrived, but many others did not. So, commercial is interesting because there's, probably 6 or 7 different verticals within commercial, and industrial has just chugged along and continued to do very well. Investment property has done extremely well through COVID, relatively unaffected. The effects were, it was hard to show some properties for a while, but in general, the demand has not changed for industrial or investment, but the rest of the verticals are kind of a case-by-case basis. And probably restaurants, the one that's felt it the most.
Well, the reason I asked, I've taken a few of the CCIM courses a long time ago, where you had to go to Baltimore or wherever it was given. It was before Zoom. And so that was, and I did some commercial stuff in the Rocky Mountains. So that's the reason I asked.
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And listening to folks, through introductions, it sounds like COVID, kind of dictated a bunch of pivots in folks' careers here. So totally understandable. And I think that's one of the beauties of real estate is, you can be a generalist, you can be a specialist, you can be a part-timer, you can be a full-timer. There's so many different avenues that you can pursue and kind of take. So it's one of the most attractive things I find about it. But hey, welcome back, everyone. So just to kind of calibrate a little bit here, one of the things that I think it's on page 8 of your guide.
Kirk, are you able to share the screen or not?
I can't. Tiffany has disabled that, so I was hoping I could just simplify things by screen sharing, but I'm afraid I can't.
So I think I can.
Oh, can you really?
I think so. I don't know if we want to coordinate you talking and me showing, or if it's just easier to keep doing it like this. Is everybody able to look at, just with a show of hand, do a little hand raise or whatever, if you're able to look at stuff and follow along while Kirk's talking?
50-50.
Some thumbs up, hands up. Okay. So I think they're able to follow you along. So
okay.
If it ain't broke.
Yeah. So, and I'm happy to reel back a little bit too, if you guys want to take a deeper dive into any of this. One of the things from a prospecting standpoint, I think, merits some conversation and strong consideration. We were talking before, I think Jim was asking, what kind of unique elements of prospecting, can be brought to bear from an effective standpoint. On the residential side, I think one of those is open houses. And, one of the things that I've seen people do effectively, new folks in the business, is identify a sole practitioner, a solo agent that's doing well, and understand what their methodologies around open houses are, so that you can bring value to them, and offer to hold open houses for them. I know there are a bunch in our market center that, especially this time of year, when you live in the Northeast, pent up demand and COVID and you work so hard, it's nice to have a weekend off occasionally. So, you know, if you're, you know, a young aggressive agent, or not even young, if you're a new agent, just looking to get, you know, kind of get more contacts and develop more experiences around it, tag team up with, you know, a more experienced agent that has listings, and offer to do some open houses. Do you guys find value in like personal stories about what has worked, like specifically? Just do a little gesture, hand raise, something. Yes? Okay. Can I share a quick story, Kirk? Yeah, please. When I was brand new, literally in the business for less than 2 weeks, I did exactly what Kirk just said. I went to an agent who had a listing, because I didn't, and I asked if I could do an open house, which they said I could. So I made flyers. Do all of you know that you have partners at your market center? So you have, if you're a part of a big team, you might not need this, but if you're on your own, there's partners like mortgage brokers, or there might be a title company or some other vendor that works with your market center. And I went to our market center and had the person who's they're a mortgage broker, they made flyers for the open house for me. I didn't pay a dime. And they co-promoted their information and my information. So as a new agent, I didn't want to spend a lot of money. And I also needed something that I could go out and door knock around the open house, around that area. So I had flyers made for free that I was then able to go around, and I walked around, I take 100 flyers and I go around the entire neighborhood the week of the open house. And I met a guy who was standing in his driveway and started talking to him. And he said he had thought about selling his house. And long story short, after the open house, I now had his information. I kept in touch with him. And eventually that ended up being my listing less than a year later. So real world scenario, when you're brand new, ask somebody to do an open house. It's free. It just takes your legwork. Go door knocking in that area with flyers paid for by someone else, and then follow up with all the people that you meet when you're door knocking, inviting them to the open house, and you'll end up getting new buyers and new sellers for yourself because of the open house that you were working.
Drew, can I add on to that? Yeah, please. Same story. I hosted an open house a couple months ago for a different agent, and I got my first listing out of it. That listing that already sold is now, they're going to be buyers for me as well, because now they need to buy a new house. So I got 2 deals out of that. How
did you do it, Bree?
Just hosting the open house. It was 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. So I just got to talking with them. They were, you know, a young couple looking to upgrade from the first condo they ever bought. And we just built a really good rapport. I answered questions for them. I proved my value, my knowledge. They ended up coming back the next day to see that same condo again, which they didn't end up buying, but they were like, you know, we need to list our condo. We would like you to do it. And we've just built a relationship from there.
Perfect.
Door knocking, when I first got licensed, I flyered my whole neighborhood to let them know that like their neighbor down the street is now a realtor. And I got a listing in West PBD out of it too. So awesome. It's just people, really.
No, that's so true. And, you know, it's taking one small piece and finding ways to expand it. Drew talked about the preparation ahead of time, the week ahead with flyers, knocking on doors. You know, I know folks put together very systematic marketing plans around the open house, what to do on Monday, what to do on Tuesday, what to do on Wednesday. You know, if you can't, you know, kind of create the time to door knock everybody, then, you know, you make sure they're not on the do not call list, but, you know, call folks and touch base with them that way, whatever you can do, because kind of like the story I was telling before, having the investor that's loaded and ready to buy on the investment property side and calling into expireds, you have something of value. You know, the neighbor may just want to know, oh yeah, well, I've never been in that house. You know, how many bathrooms are there? How does it compare to mine? You know, I mean, there's just so many little foothold conversations that you can kind of create. You know, and you may tell them, yeah, you know, we got a painter coming in the other day, next week or whatever. And, you know, is that something that, you know, would be interesting to you? You know, you might notice that the neighbor's house probably is getting close to needing a new roof, you know, and just explore, you know, how you might be able to bring value to them, you know, with, I've heard of folks even inviting, you know, guest speakers to the open house and having, you know, a contractor come in and, you know, talk about if that neighborhood's going through some revitalization, maybe like what would it cost to, you know, do window replacements, you know, for a house of this size and, you know, this category, that sort of thing. So, you know, there are limitless ways to kind of take what could be just kind of a boring, you know, 3-hour excursion of an open house, where, you know, you hope people write down their name and number, and, you know, then maybe you have a prospect in there to, you know, how can I really turn this into something more of an event, something that, you know, people are going to remember, they're going to remember me, they're going to remember the value that I brought to this. And, you know, it's kind of twisting it 90 degrees to get the most value out of it that you possibly can. So I think that's an area that I would, advocate that everybody take a good long look at. And, you know, maybe, you know, at the end of the day, as we were saying before, you look at it and you say, you know what, I just don't, that's not me. We'll find out what is you, and then expand on that and expound upon that and follow that path. But, you know, along the way, try some of these things, and you might just find that even though you're an introvert, you can pull this off, you know, that this can be something that makes you feel good, you know, in delivering value to other people. So, you know, I think that the preparation is really, really critical to do it and do it well. The conscious notion that this is prospecting. The objective here is to touch people, and to gather names and to ask, you know, where are you in your journey? You know, or as you know, it was mentioned before, buyers are also sellers many, many times, you know, so don't forget to ask that question, you know, do you have to sell? You know, in this market, and it is changing slightly. We're seeing some shifts, been alluded to, but, you know, the true gold is in the listing. You know, there's a lot of buyers out there, and hear a lot of residential brokers in my office that have been very, very frustrated, having put in offer after offer after offer after offer, trying to get their buyers that property that they want. You know, if you have a listing and it's properly priced, it's going to sell in this market. And so, you know, yeah, not to forego the buyer side of it, but utilize that as much as you can. And when you do a great job for that buyer, you know, ask them. They may not know somebody that's selling a house in their category, or they would have already acted on it. But many times, if you specifically ask, well, who do you know? Do you know anybody? I got a buyer that's looking for something up in the Lakes region. Do you know anybody up there? And you just get more and more specific about what you are asking for. You'd be astonished how many times people will be, oh yeah, actually, you know, my grandmother was thinking of selling her cottage, you know, up on the lake or whatever. And it just sometimes really requires the specificity of the question to really trigger that within the prospect. So hopefully that's at all helpful. I don't know if anybody has any questions around that. How many of you feel like that open house idea is something that, you know, you're gonna tackle? That's on your prospecting list of to-dos.
I definitely will. I built my business in Oregon that way.
Tell me more.
Hang on, are you there? Sorry.
Yeah.
I got in with a team who were in the luxury, and I ended up getting, I mean, that's where I got, I would almost say 90% of my leads. And a few of them, one was a buyer referral for a 1.4 million. And then I had another, I got another one from a like $900,000 one. So it served me well, but I love open houses. I'm kind of a hostess at heart. Sorry, I'm in the car. And I'm struggling a little bit because there's not very many available right now, because everybody's either doing their own or there's no need for them because the houses are going so quickly.
Yeah. I don't know, Drew, do you have any thoughts around that? I mean, I know that within the market center, and I'm not being on the commercial side, I'm probably not the best one to speak to this, but I do know that, you know, there is a lot of strategizing that's going on with new listings right now in terms of, you know, at least giving an opportunity, you know, to kind of during this whole no-show period or pre-show period and, you know, that sort of thing. I don't know if you have any thoughts around that, Drew, that you might be able to share a value.
Around specifically how to deal with the coming soon-ish situation?
The coming soon, but also, you know, how can you pull in, you know, the open house strategy, you know, when things are moving so quickly?
So usually they're listed, I know in our area, and I know it's different in different areas, but what we typically find is a house is listed. We're going to do showings on such and such a day, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then offers are due Monday, whatever. Now that we're starting to see some open houses coming back on, it's the same situation, except they're doing an open house on Saturday or on Sunday. So still the marketing prior to the open house is more important than the actual standing there for 3 hours at the open house. You might meet people now. I know there are people, because of COVID, everybody just wants to get out now and talk to people and do something and interact. So there are definitely people that are getting leads working the day of the open house, but still there's no reason why, with all the coming soon stuff that we do and everything else, there's no reason why once it's listed days before it's actually taking offers, you can't get out there and start knocking on doors in that neighborhood prior to the open house. That hasn't changed.
And
that's a great idea, because I did get my first listing by door knocking an open house.
And yep. that obviously works great if you have the listing. Do you see that also could be a strategy that would resonate, you know, with a veteran broker that has a bunch of listings, Drew? You know, so if someone new is trying to tag team, find a mentor and find an opportunity, you know, how do they wedge themselves in with that?
So just ask. One of the things I know someone mentioned at the very beginning when they were talking about Keller Williams and they came from another agency. And one of the things with Keller Williams is we come from a mindset of there's plenty for everybody. It's not a scarcity mindset. And there are some agents, especially if they're already well established, that they might just have too much to do the legwork on an open house, and they'd be more than happy to let you promote their open house. It might be, you know, just talk to them. Basically go up to any of the agents that are in your market center that have been around for a little bit. If you don't know the agents because you're really brand new, just ask either the team leader or the assistant team leader, the MCA. There's someone in your office who's been there for a while that can point you in the right direction. And then just ask. If they say no, you'll live. Go on to the next person. But my guess is most people in the market centers are going to be very willing to share that and utilize your you know, your time. Basically, you have the time to do it and they don't. It probably wouldn't work with bigger teams because they already have a bunch of people on that team that are all going to be working around that open house. So solo agents, that's the way to go for sure.
Thanks, Drew. The other thing that I love about KW.
Quick question for you, if I could, on that one point.
Yes.
Can we, as a Keller Williams agent, is it frowned upon if I door knock somebody, a competing brokerage open house?
So it depends on how you're doing this. You can't market someone else's listing. But if Kirk has a house listed in my neighborhood and I'm going around the neighborhood talking to the neighbors, not with a flyer promoting his listing, because that I cannot do. But if I'm talking to them saying, hey, there's a house that went on the market up around the corner, it's listed at 500,000. They're going to be doing an open house this weekend. I'm just wondering, do you know anyone else in the neighborhood that is thinking about selling, either, you know, because their kids are graduating high school, whatever the situation is? I can have conversations with people that are sparked because of that listing, but I'm not actually marketing that listing. Does that make sense, the differentiation?
Yes, it does. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yep.
There's a house that's for sale in my neighborhood from a different agent. I try to talk to the owners before I had my license, but you know, I didn't have much luck there because I didn't really have my license yet, or any real ammunition except going up and talking to them. But they already had an agent at that point anyway. But I'm going to go around my neighborhood and talk to all the neighbors and say, hey, this house is on the market. If you're interested in looking at it, I'd be happy to represent you, number one. And just tell them that I'm a realtor now. And you have a neighbor in this neighborhood that is a realtor that works for Keller Williams. And if you're interested in getting into the market or moving or renting or whatever, you know, please ask me before you go with anyone. You know, this house is going to sell and people are going to come around knocking on your door. Please think of me first.
I'm going to sound like a broken record, but press that little play button again. That's perfect, Jim. Just talk to people. There is no perfect way. Just keep talking to people. What you did is great. You can go in your neighborhood if someone's doing a yard sale. Why do people have yard sales? Usually transition. Something's going on in their life. So I always stop at yard sales. If I'm driving, my car automatically stops when I hit a yard sale. Because you know there's people there that just moved in looking for furniture and looking for other stuff, people who just had kids that are looking for stuff, people whose kids are grown up that are looking to get rid of stuff. These are all different categories of people that are all going to be in the housing market if they're not already.
I think that's a great point. Great suggestions. I would just bring it back to what I had said earlier too, is like you as you go around to your neighborhood, Jim, you can say, hey, look, it's my intention to be the go-to guy in this neighborhood. You know, I know it like nobody else. I know this neighborhood. Those are your 4 stakes in the ground. And you say, you know, do you know anybody, you know, that would want to move into the neighborhood, you know, and just expand upon and expound upon, you know, your neighborhood knowledge, and just keep building off that until you get momentum and more momentum and more momentum. And I think that that's a great place to get a foothold. So totally agree.
Too many KW agents in my neighborhood already.
Well, you know, it also could, we say that jokingly, right, David? I mean, everybody knows, you know, what, a half a dozen real estate agents or more, you know, so it's never gonna come down to you being the only choice, and that's why you get the business. It's going to come down to you being the problem solver, you know, you being the expert, you being the most helpful one, you being somebody that stands out because you go the extra mile and, you know, you listen better, you connect people better. You know, I think it comes back to contribution and service in so many ways. And when you do those underlying things properly, you know, even if you have a bunch of, you know, agents in the neighborhood, you're going to do just fine. You're going to do just fine because you're doing the, you know, you're solving problems, you're helping people solve problems and do the right things. But, you know, this market, I'm on the commercial board of realtors here in Maine. And I think over the last year, you know, and this tends to happen in burgeoning markets, I want to say that licensed agents in Maine went from like 5,000 to 6,000 or something like that. So literally a 20% increase in licensed real estate agents, you know? So you look at that from one perspective and you say, oh man, I'm getting in at the wrong time. This is horrible. You know, this is not going to serve me well. Once again, my timing stinks. All that, none of that matters. None of it matters one whit. What matters is, are you willing to get out there, to connect with people, to build a database, to add value to the people in that database, and to stay consistent with that database? Because if you do those things, then, you know, you will get business. You will have the opportunity to transact. Now, that's just an opportunity. Then you got to do well, all right? You got to become proficient at the business. You got to be good at what you do. That's, you know, secondary and it's a requirement, but, you know, you're going to get opportunities if you take all these steps of kind of creating that funnel and touching people in the right way. So.
Amen.
All right, let's recalibrate here. And thank you guys for bearing with me. I mean, this is the first time I've ever done this and I'm a little bit out of my element. So I know it's not the smoothest, you know, sequencing and back and forth. And if there's pieces that you guys want to probe into and hit on, you know, I welcome the questions and the opportunity to do that. Show of hands.
You're doing great.
Yeah, doing great.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Very kind. How many, show of hands, how many of you feel like on a scale of 1 to 10, you're at least a 5 relative to Command? Are you using it? Are you using smart plans? Cool. That's another,
you're frozen.
Oh, I froze on you?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, so, you know, because that is the next step, right? You do all this hard work, and how do you create efficiency around it, right? How do you take those prospects and you know, touch them more frequently without necessarily having to pick up the phone 100 times to do it? You know, you got to do it. You got to do it. You know, on a firsthand basis periodically, but to create a greater impression, maybe you put together a little blog periodically, or a newsletter, or a neighborhood update, or whatever it might be. And Command is a huge growing help to doing that, to touching folks on a regular basis. You know, you want to stay top of mind. Make sure that you're learning how to put together smart plans, effective smart plans. And again, one of the things, you know, really to appreciate about KW is there are a lot of folks that, you know, are willing to give you their smart plans. You know, you can kind of go through the catalog and look at stuff that, you know, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can use that, or I can tweak that and do it a little bit differently. So I would recommend that if you haven't already, do that 66-day challenge for Command. You can, if you haven't been through it yet, it's like 3 minutes, I think, for each segment. If you haven't been through it fully, you can also pick your spots on stuff that's particularly, you know, germane to what you're trying to, you know, learn, and whether it's putting in a new contact, tagging it right, creating an opportunity from a contact, and then building into a smart plan. No matter where you're at, you know, there's so many ways to, you know, kind of augment that and become better at it. So I would highly encourage you, because you will stay more top of mind if you can create efficient systems around that. So Anybody having any particular successes that they can call out relative to smart plans or getting stuff into command?
I do have a question regarding command, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. I'll do my best.
So I was wondering if there was a way of exporting your contact list from command into, say, Outlook or something like that, so that you don't have to build dual databases.
It's a really good question. There definitely is. Drew, is it just our market center? Or does everybody have access to
contract to close?
No, to Scott. What the heck?
Scott will do it.
Oh, Scott Leroy.
Scott Leroy Marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, and I'm not sure about this if I'm understanding your question correctly, Steve, but I think they actually do the opposite. They take your contacts that you have in other arenas and they'll import it into command for you. I don't know if you'd want to take your contacts from command and take them out and put them in something else, because the nice thing about having them in command is you have just everything is in there that you need to touch those people that are your contacts. So
my question was because of, wow, it's coming back at me. So I'm hoping that Keller Williams works for me and I'm here another 15, 20 years.
Right.
But in the off chance that it doesn't work out, that it's just not the place for me, I don't want to lose all my contacts in command.
Yep.
Or have to build two databases to keep up with my contacts.
Yeah, so I'm still with KW. I haven't left and I don't plan on leaving, but my understanding is yes, you can take that database and put it in whatever you want. That KW has no interest in holding on to your database.
So there's an export feature on command?
I don't know how to do it, but my understanding is yes, there is. And you probably have a much more tech savvy person in your market center who can help you out with that, or at least walk you through how to do it. Your team leader is a good resource for that.
My understanding is that's accurate too. You know, that it is exportable. I can't walk you through steps 1, 2, and 3 on how to do it. I will tell you though that, you know, like if you've got, let's say your phone, you've got a couple thousand contacts in your phone, there's an app, you know, that, you know, you can turn that into an Excel spreadsheet. And then if you take the time to clean it up and either do it yourself, or I would recommend, you know, that you have someone like Scott Leroy Marketing help you with that and, you know, populate command for you. So it's kind of like, I know you were asking the question in reverse, wanting to make sure that if I build command, those contacts are mine. I just know that based on philosophy, Gary Keller's philosophy and, you know, Keller Williams in general, that the database is yours and it is exportable. You take it with you. It is not something that the market center kind of keeps as its own.
Okay. Yeah. I was told that, you know, it's ours, but once you leave Keller Williams, it's deleted. So I was just making sure that there was a way of exporting it before that happened if I happen to leave. I don't see myself leaving anytime soon, but I don't like not being prepared for anything.
Yep, that's fair. It's a fair question. You put that much energy into something, you want to make sure that it has durability and its usefulness to you. So I would verify that, you know, with the technology, you know, representative at the market center in terms of how you can periodically back it up. Right. That might be one way to approach it, is I just want to make sure that I back this up and have it. And, you know, the other thing too is, you know, when I first, I did a trial, a lab when command was first starting out, because we weren't sure on the commercial side how applicable command was going to be on the commercial side. So I wanted to get ahead of it a little bit. And so I got into the lab, and the first couple passes I took, you know, I didn't do a very good job. The command database was not as clean as I wanted. The tags weren't how I wanted them and that sort of thing. So there is the ability to archive all of that and to start over again too, once you get things set up and cleaned up the way you want them. So it's definitely worth taking, and one of the other things I really like about KW, and this has to do with, maybe finding a mentor and, a solo agent, that, I mean, so much of, what happens in the market center is transparent and easily found, like through KW Connect and other resources. Look in the market center. Who are the individual agents that are doing the most volume? That's where I would start to have that conversation about, dueling an open house. Who would be a good fit for that? So that there's so much, transparency and, finding out who's doing well with the smart plans, who's doing well with command, who's utilizing that stuff well. And going to them and making sure that, you work with them and tag team with them and bring some value, find a way to be of value to them. But at the end of the day, ask them to help solve some problems or challenges on your side too. So, social media, taking the social media and turning it into a prospecting strategy. Any thoughts there? Anybody doing anything interesting, creative, and trying to take the kind of the big cloud or the big prospecting or marketing opportunity and bringing it into the small and the tangible? Anybody working on that? Instagram. One of the folks in the office that I was talking to, particularly strong on Instagram and kind of using that as a vehicle. Very obviously pictorial in nature, right? And so new listings or just help these folks sell this house. Using that as kind of a genesis point to attract other folks that you can have direct conversations with. So kind of taking that top end of the funnel piece and bringing it and boiling it down into conversations. I would recommend that you give some consideration to strategies around that if you're a social media person. As I said before, I'm not the best one to instruct you on that. I do a bit on LinkedIn, and that's probably my strength. But I know that I hear a lot of folks on Instagram, and there's a lot of folks out there that are effectively using TikTok. But the key is in terms of like not just how do I get all these followers, but how do I turn these followers into contacts and into prospects? Again, what's your niche? Are you a boater? Can you develop a following around that, and create contacts that flow from that? I know before we were talking in introductions, forgive me, I'm not coming up with the first name instantly, but soccer moms and team moms and dads and coaches and all these groups. You need to, I encourage you to think strategically about them as contact bases. How do I touch those groups, and let them know what I'm doing and give them a view of what I'm doing so that it's interesting and it might bring some value, to them in order to create those connections. So.
And that's the key. Social media is another fishing pole. It's another way. The reason you make phone calls, the reason you door knock, the reason you do open houses, the reason you go to the grocery store, the reason you do social media is to get those people to connect with you, and leads to conversations, phone calls, appointments, those kind of things. So if social media is your fishing pole, that's great. There's no right or wrong way to do it if it's effective for you, but it has to, like Kirk said, it has to lead to those deeper connections rather than just one way you sharing. It has to be getting those people's information and contacting them. And that does work for some people. They're really good at it.
Yeah. I'm confident that as I have more things to talk about, that it's going to get easier. You know, it's at the beginning where, you know, you talk about Instagram and how it's very picture oriented. I don't have any listings currently. I haven't introduced any buyers to any homes. So it's going to take a while, but once I've got a couple things under my belt, I'll be able to utilize that a little bit more. What suggestions do you have for those of us that are fresh out of the gate and don't have that, you know, like if I'm at a soccer game and someone says, "Oh, Jim, how's work?" I know I'll be able to turn that conversation into, I could help you do the same thing or whatever. I'm confident in that. But right now, without much to go on, what suggestions do you guys have?
So I would qualify this, Jim, with saying that I'm 50 years old and I am not a social media tycoon. However, if you're a part of different groups on social media, you'll find you can connect with people on those groups without necessarily having something like a listing that you're promoting. So I was involved with a group of parents that were very concerned about the schools and the school system. And so these were all people that knew me through that. And most of them I had never met in person. It's just social media. But when I had a listing, I then was promoting something there and someone from that group reached out to me because they knew me through that. And that's how that conversation started. If you don't have a listing, I just had a stat that I heard yesterday that was kind of blew my mind, but in the state of Maine, and this obviously is only specific to Maine, but you have the same type of thing where you are. We had in the first 2 weeks of June, approximately 395 listings. In the first 2 weeks of July, we had approximately 600. There was a 40% jump in the number of listings. It's a really simple stat, but it's something that you can take that and you can share it with people in your community and you're adding value. And it has nothing to do with the number of listings you have. It has nothing to do with the number of clients you've helped. It has to do with specific information that people would find interesting. And you also have your market statistics that you can lean on. So Keller Williams in your area might be selling houses at 102% of list to sale price, whereas other agencies or MLS average might be 100%. So you can market the fact that you've got a 2% higher sale price than the rest of the MLS, and it's your market center's data. It's not your personal data, but that can be marketed until you start developing your own data. Does that help?
Where would you find that information?
So I know in our market center, we have what's called a Wednesday wrap, and they just email it out to all the agents, and it's kind of a slides from our all partners meeting that we do weekly. And that's where I can access it very easily. But if you talk to your team leader or your productivity coach or whoever's in your office, somebody will know how to get a hold of those slides.
I think that's great advice, Drew. I would also say, you know, the little creative flip on proximity that I mentioned before with the Florida broker who, you know, had a $200,000 listing, but chose to take a shot of herself across the bay, you know, with the, you know, just the concept of $1 million listing in the background. You know, if I was out and about, I might say something like, hey, just coming from a listing appointment and notice this house being built. Boy, it's great to know with all the supply chain challenges out there that people are still building, you know, and you know, maybe it's a 4-bedroom, you know, $1 million home, that sort of thing. So you're not saying that you're the broker. You're not saying that, you know, this is my listing. You're just sort of positioning yourself adjacent to activity, building, high-end houses, you know, so it's kind of a social commentary, you know, and a just an upbeat post that positions you as somebody that's out there taking action on a listing appointment and in proximity to good things happening. And those types of things tend to resonate, you know, and maybe not each one to everyone, but over time, you know, people will get the impression that, hey, this guy's out there, or this gal's out there making it happen. You know, that they're a doer. And so those types of, you know, positioning strategies are effective. So service. I mentioned this a little bit before, but prospecting, and many of you have also indicated, you know, that you're parts of different organizations. Drew was talking a little bit about some of that as well. It certainly helps build a service mentality if you're giving back to the community, if you're parts of, you know, groups, whether they be online or physical. Obviously during COVID, a lot of this wasn't happening, you know, on a individual basis, on a personal basis. But if you're part of groups and you're serving within the group and then asking the group, you know, to keep you in mind for opportunities, and these all tie together. You know, if you're coming from contribution when you're doing your door knocking and you're, you know, trying to be helpful, if they need a contractor, if they, you know, need something, you know, I think that theme of service and being part of service organizations from a prospecting standpoint and just from a overall, you know, kind of beneficial to the community, beneficial to you standpoint is helpful. You know, I'm a member of Rotary. I get involved with, you know, coaching different athletic teams around town. My kids have kind of aged out of the high school programs, but I still help out with some soccer coaching at the local high school and during the summer and, you know, that sort of thing. And so those things I don't necessarily do, you know, looking for business, but it's important to reel that back in at some point and to be purposeful about, you know, the connections that you make with people so that they know what you're doing and that they know, you know, you're out there adding value to the community and looking to help add value to them. So I would encourage you all to think about, you know, what service organizations, you know, you are part of, you know, church, youth groups, you know, elderly assistive programs, whatever it might be, but think, you know, along the lines of what you want to do to give back. And then also think along the lines of, you know, what do I want to do purposefully that will also help connect with my business? What is the kind of business that I would, you know, like to do and how does it connect there? So, you know, it gets back to that whole planning element, but I think it's critically important. Anybody have any interesting connections with groups that have, you know, doesn't have to be real estate business, but that have yielded business in the past?
On social groups, there's always a social group of your neighborhood. There's a social group of your town, and there's a social group of your county. So, you know, you just be active on those and let them know you're alive.
Yep.
And again, I think that's a great point, David. Thank you for that. I think it also comes back to, you know, doing a little self-inventory and saying, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? And if you start there, things tend to tag along, quite well. If you're creating something that isn't you, it doesn't resonate, with who you are and what you like to do, it's probably not going to be nearly as effective. But if you've been a coach, if you've been, a team supporter, a kid supporter, throughout the school system, and that's part of who you are, I would say, make that part of your plan, make that a purposeful part of your plan in terms of, just connecting back with people you met, through that path. Say, hey, it's been a couple of years since, since we've had the chance to connect and know each other. I just wanted you to know how much I really, look back fondly, at those coaching times or those whatever times. And, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And I wanted to let you know that now that I'm in real estate, I'm connected to, a lot of different people in the trades. And if there's anything I can do to assist, and just trying to tie things together and look to past groups that have been meaningful and purposeful for you. And, I think you'll find it'll not only be, professionally rewarding, but I think it'll be personally rewarding as well.
Absolutely.
Take a second to answer any questions that folks have at this point.
Hey, Kirk, are you following, is there a slide number that you're on?
Yeah. So I've been back and forth a little bit. Right now, we're like on slide 13, 14. If that calibrates. Getting to the point where, the exercise is to take, the general lead funnel and create top lead sources. Has anybody gone through that exercise fully yet, or is it just anybody looked at this ahead of time? No.
I did. I'm not sure if I have the right slide deck to match what you're looking at. So sorry, I'm trying to see where you're at.
Yeah, so the slide deck that I have is an 18 page slide deck. Is that the same one?
Yep.
Yep. And page.
No, mine's got a lot more than that.
Well, I have two going. I have one that has a lot more than that too. That's the host deck, but the participant deck. Am I wrong here? Does everybody have an 18 slide PDF deck? If you look at page 13 of your slide deck or your handout, prospect to your strengths, take action and develop your plan. Are we on the same page? Anybody?
Are we on Ignite 10?
I check the number.
This is Elementals, right? It's different than Ignite?
Elementals 1, prospecting.
Right.
Yep.
I don't have that one.
I don't have that one either. I'm sorry.
Okay. No.
Let me try to share what I have, Kurt.
Yeah, please.
Can you put the link or whatever? Can you put it in?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can get it.
I guess I should have asked you sooner because I was kind of embarrassed.
See if that works. I just put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
Yep. That is not the short one, Kurt. Sorry. It's a long one. It's the only one I got.
Oh, the facilitator one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we got a whole bunch of slides in there. Are the ones that you're looking at different? You want to share yours? You can do the same thing I just did. It's pretty simple. Just cut and paste it from your internet bar up top and then just stick it in the chat.
from Google Drive?
Yep.
Yep.
If it doesn't work, we can go with mine. Or you can just keep going, do what you're doing. I just thought it might be helpful if people can see visually the slide you're talking about when you're talking.
Absolutely. No, I should be able to. Okay, let me.
Let's see here.
All right, I just tried to share that. I got a message that only specific. I don't know if everybody can open that or not, but
you know what? I think I might have it here. Hang on. Hold tight. Sorry for the technical snafu. I think, see if this works. If Kirk's doesn't work, see if that one works. Don't do the first one I gave you. Do the second one I gave you. That should be the 18-page one that you're talking about, Kurt.
Gotcha. Is that working for folks?
If you're able to take what I just sent you, just give a thumbs up or something so we know. Perfect.
Oh, great. All right, let me open that, Drew. I try to open that too, so we're all on the same page.
That should be the 18-page one that you had.
Okay.
I have 45 pages.
Yeah, go to the second one, David. Not the first one that I posted, the second one. I posted 2 different links.
So that's bringing folks to the Google Drive.
I think it's the third link.
Yeah.
After, yeah.
Yeah, so when you go, if you click on Drew's information, then click on the Elementals 1 participation guide. That's the third document down.
Yeah, it's the one that's time stamped for 11/20. That worked for me.
Thank you. So give everyone a sec to get that, and then we could make sure we're on the same page with you, Kirk.
Sure.
Way to go, Hillary. Once again, reinforcing, you do not need to be a tech wizard to succeed in real estate. Look at us.
Look at us.
Yeah, so which slide were you on, Kurt? I'm sorry, did you say 13?
Yeah, so it's transitioning from 12 to 13. So
okay.
The idea, is to think about, in the far left column, the lead sources. It's just kind of a free flowing process. Don't overthink it. Like, what are literally all the sources and groups, that and are aware of. I'm a member of Rotary. I'm a member of, PTA. I'm a member of
BNI.
All these potential sources that, that could create prospect lists for you. Just go through and detail and order them. Don't order them at first, just detail them. Just keep going and keep going and keep going. And I would, like I said before, I would encourage you to think about, groups that you've kind of let slip a little bit, past groups. When you're new in the business, and I've found this to be true, I would say every time I've kind of taken a little bit of a right turn and change what I was doing, there's this grace period that happens when you're new. Take full advantage of it. You know, reach out to everybody and say, hey, I'm new and I know I don't know everything, and I know I don't know everyone. But I really enjoyed when we interacted at such and such a time, at such and such a point, doing such and such a thing. And I thought this was a great opportunity to reconnect with you. And if there's any way I can bring value to you, I would like to do that, because I really appreciated, you know, working with you during that period of time. And I just think that it's a, like I said, it's a really graceful period when you can just kind of cop to not knowing a whole lot and just asking for help, you know, because so many times I know personally, I don't always ask for help very well. And if I can, you know, kind of give myself permission to slow down and ask for help, people want to give it. You know, people do want to help. And I want to support people who do, you know, help me. So I will give in return. But, you know, I would say take full advantage of that. So, you know, list out all your sources, give some thought strategically then to which ones resonate with you the most right now. You know, like if you see yourself ultimately becoming a specialist as a buyer broker, you know, there might be, you know, groups that are more prominent towards your potential success than others, right? We talked about, you know, I'm going to be a buyer's broker and I'm going to be a first-time buyer's broker. That's how I'm starting out. And so being part of the local landlord association or the local tenant association, you know, might be at the very top of my ordered list, you know? So, you know, that's where taking the history, applying some strategies to it, and then really turning this into what ultimately at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is turn this into an actionable prospecting program.
So who's got actionable stuff? What's something you can do today to generate some contacts? Anyone?
Like I said, I'm going to that car show tonight.
You're going to the car show, right?
And I'm doing that, and then it's at the club I belong to, so then I'm going to go inside the club after and interact with the people there.
Perfect.
Door knock, phone calls.
So specifically, think of something that you can do that's actionable, that you just have to do that specific thing and it will get you contacts. So make a post on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, or send an email to all your friends and say, I need 2 painters to add to my specified vendor list for my clients. Does anyone have a painter they've used that they liked a lot? And you'll get responses from people you know, who you can then follow up with in that conversation. And you're going to get the names of painters who you can call and say, I'm a realtor, you're a painter, I want to give you business. Is that okay? Which they're going to say,
heck yeah.
Yes. Yes, they're going to say yes. And you say, great, here's what I'd like to do. What kind of client are you looking for as a painter right now? Oh, I'm looking for exterior work, but starting in fall, it all dries up and I need some interior work. And that's really when I can use the help. And you start funneling business to that painter. When that painter gets business from you, guess what he's going to do or she's going to do? Who do you think they're going to refer for real estate needs? You, because you've been giving them business, right? So again, real world scenario, I had a friend who went from doing construction work for a big company where he was doing roofing and flooring and framing, which if any of you have been in that line of work, it's really physically taxing work. And he was just tired of it. So he went off on his own as a contractor. I ran into him at the store because, again, the only reason I go to stores is because I'm looking to network with people. And I started talking to him, and he told me what he was doing. And I said, how can you not tell me you went off on your own? I'm a realtor. What are you thinking, right? You should tell everyone you know, but especially me. And then I got his information. That first year that he was in his own business, he got about 80 to 90% of his work from people that I referred to him. Because everywhere I went, people needed contractors. And I said, here's a guy who's really good, but he's not booked up yet because he's brand new. He just started his business. So since that happened, his first year in business, he got about 80 or 90% of his work from my referrals. Do you think he thinks of me when it comes to real estate? I've gotten 3 referrals from him, one of whom sold a house, is selling another house that they just signed up with me, and is looking to invest in properties with a partner that they're looking for. So 5 to 6 pieces of business, all because I helped people get his name. That's all I did, just connected them. So if you go out there and look for painters and contractors and landscapers and pest control people and roofers and start connecting all these people together, you'll get in really good conversations, and it will lead to business eventually. I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, that was good stuff, Drew. Really good stuff. And I think, you know, Drew knew that individual, but he's absolutely right. I mean, I've seen, and I can't tell you how many times, you know, people, they want to be helpful. They jump to the cause. It's like, hey, I'm looking for a plumber. Does anybody know a good plumber? And, you know, general comment to your Facebook friends. And, you know, you will get responses. People say, you've got to call Charlie. You've got to call, you know, Barbara. You've got to. And so it's also an opportunity for you to, you know, thank that person that, you know, made the plumber referral. You know, check in with them. How are they doing? You know, when's the last time you used them? And during that conversation, oh, by the way, well, they're fixing their second bathroom because they are thinking about selling their house. You know, so one thing leads to another. If you think along those lines, if you start to, you know, kind of look at it as a connect the dot strategy, you know, everybody has, you know, some bits of information that could add to the overall puzzle if you just keep asking the right questions, you know, and showing appreciation and thanking them along the way. But I do think that sometimes we get into this mindset where everything's possible, but it's so big and it's so scary and it's so audacious. And, you know, how do I dial it down to something that's small and actionable? And I think that is one, you know, even for like a non-Facebook person, you know, just to put out there, you know, I think I've got 500 Facebook friends or something, but, you know, I bet if I put out a post and said, hey, I really need a roofer. Anybody know a good roofer? I can guarantee you that I'd get 4 or 5 people, you know, for sure, that would come back and say, you know, you got to call this person.
Definitely. Nina has her hand raised. And I think, Noah, did you have your hand raised too?
Yeah, I just had a kind of a quick question out of curiosity. So I know obviously through Ignite, we're being taught to make the phone calls, you know, make the contacts. Now, when you look at the other sources of prospecting, whether it be grocery store or door knocking, would you say that you can be just as successful doing that method through vendors, door knocking, meeting people as you can being on the phone all day?
Yes, yes, and yes. Whatever way works for you, the key is to do it. The reason why people don't do well is because they don't pick up the phone and they don't do the other stuff.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with phone calls, but I've always been more of a personal, I would rather have a face-to-face conversation, meet you, and build a relationship that way than just call.
So I'll give you a quote from one of my mentors in real estate. This guy does about $130 million a year in business. So he's no slouch. And he said to me, what's the reason you pick up the phone? to make an appointment. So if you go out and talk to someone, you're making the face-to-face conversation. You're just skipping the phone part. So the bottom line is get the appointment, talk to people,
so maybe
however you do it.
Whether it's 10 phone calls or 10 conversations, you're going to have the same effect.
Yeah, but you probably need more like 30 or 40 phone calls to get into 10 conversations. And it might be a little different in other settings.
All right, thank you.
So, yeah. Nina?
Hi, Drew. Yeah, I really liked the way you worded about saying that you needed to, can you repeat what you were saying about that Facebook post? Because I think I'm going to pretty much say it verbatim, because it just sounded so sincere and not like, hey, I'm an agent. I just want to remind my Facebook friends that I'm an agent. So I don't want to come out that way. So in the sense that you said, and those are useful, those would be useful to have those kind of contacts.
If as an agent, we serve our community, we should have a list of vendors. I can't tell you the number of times someone is not interested in buying or selling a house or investing in property, but they are interested in getting a painter for the summertime, or they are interested in having a plumber or someone like that. Mm-hmm. And so if you put a post out there asking people, does anybody know, Kirk mentioned plumbers, painters, pest control, roofers, siders, contractors, I mean, you name it, whatever. If you know of someone who did a great job, can you please share it with me? Because I'm looking to build my vendor list, my preferred vendor list.
Okay.
And then it gives you an opportunity to talk to the person that gave the referral. It gives you an opportunity to talk to the vendor and say, geez, you were real, you know, a few people mentioned your name. You must do a fantastic job. I'm a realtor. Is it okay if I give you referrals? Which they will say,
heck yeah.
Yes. And then you get into a, you know, coming from contribution. I know Kirk said it a couple times today already. You'll hear that at Keller Williams all the time, but it's really true. If you are honestly, sincerely coming from a place of trying to help that painter get more business, it will come back to you tenfold.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question on the vendor situation. I know when we were taking the class, and again, I'm brand new, I was taking the class for my license. They said you can't specify one home inspector, you have to give a list. Is it okay to specify one vendor, or should you, like you said, you help this guy get 80% of his business? Were you just mentioning his name, and is that okay, or do you have to give them an option?
No, it's told if a friend or someone when I'm door knocking says, yeah, I'm looking to get my kitchen redone, and I give them the name of a contractor who does kitchen remodeling, that's completely fine. There's no kickbacks. I don't get anything by doing that. It's purely I'm helping the business and I'm helping that person, and I want them to think of me when they think of realtors. Good question.
It is a good question. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I do think that actively keeping that, you know, vendor list current is a huge piece of the value add puzzle that we all should focus on. Because folks are going to trust you, and they are going to think of you, and they're going to expect that you have more touches in that world than they do. And they're right. You know, I mean, when they go to look for an electrician, it's once every 10-year event. You know, when you do it, you know, it's probably 5 times a year or maybe 5 times a month, depending on, you know, how much business volume you build up to, you know. So there's a lot of requests to get things done, you know, properties that, you know, need improvements to them along the way, and, you know, before people put them on the market or, you know, whatever it might be. So you are definitely going to, as you elevate yourself as a broker, as a realtor, you're going to need a good quality vendor list and keep it current. And you know, that will serve you well. And the process of, you know, kind of reinvigorating and vetting and, you know, conversing is going to serve you well too, because it will open the door to many conversations, as Drew mentioned. So anybody have anything else to add or questions along those lines? I do think Noah brought up a great point about, you know, meeting in person. I think Drew's qualification about, you know, whether you start on the phone and then, you know, invite to coffee, or start on the phone and ask for the appointment. That is in my opinion, a transition, you know, through the prospect cycle. You know, getting a face-to-face appointment is more impactful. What I would add to that right now is, coming out of COVID, there's a huge pent-up demand for that. You know, so many people haven't had coffee with other people for so long. And so, you know, that there is a real, you know, added value or an additional incremental value attached to, you know, meeting folks right now. People are just so happy to be able to get out and to do again, to interact again, you know? Yeah. So take advantage of that, you know, invite people to coffee, or if they're not coffee drinkers, you know, and whatever. But, you know, I do think that, you know, the timing is perfect to move stuff through that pipeline, you know, from a non-personal touch to a personal touch. Jim.
I'd just like to give some advice for people that haven't been in any type of sales role in the past. It's important to get it on the calendar, or after you meet with someone, or after you talk to someone, to get it on the calendar. I worked as a inside sales for a team of outside sales guys, and we would have a great meeting with someone. And at the end of the meeting, they would hang up and they'd call me and say, get them back on the calendar for 2 weeks from now. And it was next to impossible to get that person again and get them to agree. You know, it's like starting all over again. You have the conversation with someone, hey, we should go to coffee, you know, go grab a cup of coffee and talk about real estate. And they say, yeah, great, call me. Okay, cool. It's better to say, well, what are you doing next Thursday? Can I put you down because I'm kind of busy? Can I put you down for next Thursday, or when works better for you? Or whether it's a phone call or an in-person conversation or whatever, get it on the calendar, or it might not ever happen.
Great point. Great. Even if you have to go a month out, you know, hey, what about the first Monday in October? You know, just get something that, you know, you can knock down and know that it's there and actionable. So I think that's really an excellent point. Looking at the tool on page, really, we started on 13, flowing into 14 and page 15. And I would just recommend, from a planning standpoint, that you kind of take the time to really do that and go through it and figure out, again, what resonates best for you, and what is an actionable plan, you know, that you can put on your calendar and start to take actionable steps. You know, I think in general, you know, some of the metrics that we tend to think of are, you know, 10 a day. You know, if you can have 10 good business conversations a day. And if you're a part-timer and you've only got 2 hours to attach to it right now because, you know, there's family challenges or this or that, then you dial it back a little bit. But if you're making this your livelihood, you know, make sure you're scheduling time to at least, you know, converse with 10 people a day. I think if you're doing that and following up and doing all the other things, you're starting to create the beginning of a real business for yourself. And if you're not doing that purposefully and intentionally on a daily basis, then, you know, you're going to get what you get, which is going to be, you know, a periodic closing that'll pay the bills to a certain point. until you have another periodic closing. What you really want to do is kind of get to the point where you're so busy, you have to hire people to take things off your plate. You know, where you have at first a virtual assistant and then a full-time assistant, you know, and then a buyer's broker. And these are all people part of your team. And so if you have that image, and maybe you don't want to go there, maybe this is a part-time thing, and I'm not trying to push you beyond where you want to go. But if you want to go to higher levels, have that image in your mind that I want to get so busy that I can hire someone to take the stuff off my plate that I either don't do well or don't like doing, so that I am now moving from having a really well-paying job in real estate to having a real estate business. I don't know if any of you have ever read Michael Gerber's The E-Myth, The E-Myth Revisited. If you are interested in thinking procedurally about moving from job to business, I couldn't recommend it more highly. I think it's a really, really great read, great audio book too, but a really great read for someone that's looking to really think about this as not just a job, but a business. And it's interesting because he wrote the E-Myth Revisited, not with real estate in mind, but he went back recently in several fields, real estate included, and he did one called the E-Myth Revisited for real estate, and he collaborated with a real estate broker, and you know all the anecdotes and information is tailored specifically to our industry. So throw that out there as, you know, something that you might want to, if you have a vision for it being more than just a job, you know, that's a great read. So.
And I also like what you had said, Kirk, about those pages and making a plan. So what Noah was asking earlier about, you know, making phone calls, talking to people, all these different ways you do it. If you look at page 14, it specifically says there's pros and cons, right, to every way that you prospect. There is no perfect prospecting. It's just a matter of what works for you. And with what Kirk was saying about being purposeful and making this a business, sit down after this is over for half an hour and go through this plan on page 12, 13, 14, and actually figure out what you're going to go out there and do to make those contacts. And then if you execute the plan, you'll find you get good results. Regardless of what those three types are, it doesn't matter. Any three that you want to do, if you do them, it'll work.
Exactly. And to Jim's point, once you figure it out, put it in your calendar. You know, it is, you know, 9 to 11 your time for, you know, lead generation and prospecting, or is it 1 to 3? But figure out who you're going after, how that best fits, you know, into a daily plan, and block it out and commit to it. And I think you'll find that will serve you best if you do that and stay committed to it. But you know, the plan, the purposefulness, and then, you know, actually locking it in, I think will put you well on your way to you know, to developing the type of database, both from a qualitative and quantitative standpoint, that you need to be successful in this business. Questions, concerns, fears, takeaways that are helpful, doubtful?
How about some ahas from today?
I got an aha because, and it was same thing. I know said the same thing, is I'm better face to face. I come from a business, the restaurant business, where it was a lunch counter. I was there for 40 years. So I'm used to looking at people at the face. I'm not used to being on the phone. And for it, I think the phone aspect bothered me the most. And now I know I don't have to rely on the phone. I can actually go out there and just be who I am.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, you know, one of the things that I find interesting too, Artie, is that, you know, some of the folks, you know, my generation anyway, we grew up on the phone, you know, so I'm comfortable on the phone. You know, my kids, you know, I got to push them to have a phone conversation. You know, they're horrible on the phone. They want to text, they want to, you know, FaceTime or, you know, whatever. And, you know, so they're a little bit differently challenged, you know, to, you know, get comfort in picking up the phone. And you know, either one is okay. You know, I think you have to think about your audience, you know, because it's easy to think about us. Like, you know, if you have a fear of the phone, you know, that could derail your ability to pound out a bunch of phone calls, even though you really should, because you have that open house coming up. But think about, you know, who you're trying to connect with. You know, if it's millennials, you might want to start with a text, you know, but find out, how do they want to be communicated with? And I think if you kind of start there and get a little bit of a read on not just like what's comfortable for you, but what's comfortable for them, I think that will also serve well. But it's a great point, and it's worth, you know, it's worth mulling over.
I like the idea of going to yard sales because, like Drew said, you're going to find people who might be looking for new furniture because they're getting ready to move. The people having the yard sale might be trying to declutter. You know, people are looking for baby items because they just had a new baby and they might be in the market to buy in the near future. I think that's a great creative way to do some prospecting.
Don't let Drew fool you. He's actually a closet Cabbage Patch Kids collector.
You just dated yourself, Kirk.
That's why he's stopping at yard sales. So,
hey, I like the idea of the yard sales too, Jim. And it's a good example of what you were saying with getting appointments, focusing on it. What Kirk was saying about being strategic and treating this like a business. I never went to a yard sale and bumped into someone and said, hey, do you want to sell your house with me tomorrow? It wasn't about that. It was about making connections to people, which follow up later on, handwritten notes, phone call month later. You know, that's how the business for me has always grown. The person I met at the yard sale ends up being a listing a year later, not a week later. So the more, if I talk to 100 yard sales, that's great. Business will blow up.
This actually kind of reminds me of a situation from a couple months ago. I was at the car dealership waiting for some warranty work to get done on my truck. And I was sitting there with my real estate book open. And I started a conversation with some older guy. And next thing you know, he's emailing me the following day saying, hey, you know, it was great meeting you. You know, I'd love to come down and see your family's marina and all that. So I'm going to look back at my emails once the license comes in. And I think that'd be a good person to, you know, add to the contacts. So that was just the way I did it before I even took the test, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right.
So it's one of the things that you can't do when you're brand new, but you should do even 6 months in, a year in, 2 years in, is look back at your business and look for patterns and look for ways that you've done things that have worked well, or maybe things that need to change. You know, I find that most of my business, when I meet someone and talk to them, the chances of me doing business with them in the first couple weeks is really, really slim. Almost all my business has a sales cycle of about 9 months from the time I talk with them till the time we're sitting down talking about buying a house, selling a house, or investing in real estate. So for me, that's the reality. That's just how it's worked out. And I don't fight it anymore. I just realize that's kind of how it works. So I have to keep adding people to that mix. So the people I talked to 9 months ago are now doing business. The people I'm talking to today for the first time, likely I won't do business with them for another 9 months. And that you'll see patterns like that in your business. With Kirk, in commercial, it's probably a longer sales cycle anyway, just in general, I think. But everyone has their own flow and their own cycles and their own patterns, and you just need to kind of be aware of that.
Yeah, it's a great point. Persistence, stick-to-itiveness, getting momentum, building momentum can be frustrating, especially when you're trying to make a mortgage payment or, pay bills, and we want to think short term, but really this business rewards long-term thinking, or at least intermediate term thinking, so that you're doing the right things, all the time. And there is a payoff for that. In my first year in commercial real estate, I made $15,000. And I was like, holy cow. And I knew it was going to be bad. I just didn't know it was going to be that bad. And, but the average sales cycle is much longer, and it just takes a lot of time and a lot of traction. So, I applaud you for walking on this path. It's a fantastic opportunity. Real estate is an unbelievable opportunity. And it will be exactly what you make of it. It will reward you to the extent that, you are thoughtful and active and aggressive in going after it. But you're going to have to be tenacious at times too, because it doesn't always reward you when you think you should be rewarded. And so, stay the course and find, a mentor, find someone that you can, really track. And one of the beauties today, too, is that there's a lot of average stuff online, but there's a lot of good quality stuff out there, with really high performing mentor types. And so you don't necessarily have to know your mentor these days. You can kind of like pick up mentorship in a lot of different ways. And there are some really talented people sharing some really insightful stuff in our business, so I would encourage you to find folks that you resonate with and that resonate with you, and get after it, because, it is a contact business. I think that's about all I have. I'm happy to entertain questions if people want to stay on and ask questions for a little bit. I know I've blocked out till 12:15, but really at this point, I would turn it over to where you guys want to go with this. So
I also put my email and Kirk's email in the chat. It's up at the top of the chat box if you want to scroll up there, and if you feel like emailing us for anything, it's fine with me. I think it'd be okay with Kirk.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate all your attentiveness and interest. I wish you great success in this business. And I'll stay on for a few more minutes if, folks want to hang for a question or two.
Kirk, I do have a question. I was told at one point that you choose residential real estate or you choose commercial real estate. There's no mixing the two. But that was on the West Coast. Does that apply here on the East Coast as well?
It's a really good question. I can tell you that in the state of Maine, and I think this is true throughout New England, we have one license. You get a real estate license. You don't get a commercial license. You don't get a residential license. But under the Code of Realtors, we pledge ourselves to work on projects for which we have the capabilities and the know-how to do. So, there's an intention to not tackle things that are outside of your wheelhouse. If someone came to me and, was looking to sell a house, I refer it out. I don't do residential, and I don't feel these days, the way the market moves, qualified to do it. I call Drew and I say, Drew, this is what I got. And when Drew does the same with me, I'm happy to pay him a referral fee for him to handle something that's in his sweet spot. And, I'm happy to, work reciprocally along those lines. So I know I see left and right, there are a lot of brokers that do both. We call them resi-mercial agents, they do residential, they do commercial. And, if they have the confidence, the skill and the ability, and many do, to do that, it's okay in the state of Maine, as long as they, have the expertise. I have a mindset that I think the better you get as you move through your career, the more specified you will probably get. You'll become a condo specialist, or you will become a lakefront specialist, or you will become, as you dial down your market, it sounds like you're losing opportunities, but I think in fact, you're gaining with the specificity that you're adopting. I think you're gaining much more than you're losing. And then when you have contacts, like Drew or specialists in those other areas, and I can make a healthy referral fee just by having someone else do it, and all I had to do was put them in touch with Drew. That's fantastic. Talk about leverage. I mean, that's fantastic. So I think as we all start off, we kind of start off with, I'm going to take anything I can get. And that's okay, as long as you're competent. But I think as you move kind of through this field, this industry, you probably want to do it with an eye towards specificity. And, for me on the commercial side, I have a couple of verticals that I'm particularly comfortable in. And there are a couple of verticals that I might refer out to from time to time. So I don't know, Stephen, I'm not sure if I answered your question well, but that's my answer.
You answered it very well. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And I would also add to that, it depends on what you want to learn about, what your personal interest is. If you are finding that you're a condo guy and that's your thing, and all your business is around condos and you really know it well, and someone wants to sell a single family house and you're interested in it, you can handle something like that. It's not that far out of your wheelhouse. I would definitely refer stuff out. If I had any commercial business, I wouldn't even attempt it myself. I would just give it to Kirk and there we go. Move on. It's not an area that I want to start diving into and learning all the details about. It doesn't make sense.
Good point.
Thank you.
That it? Everybody's ready to go make some contacts.
Make contacts or have lunch. I'm not sure which, but I wish you good luck in all of it. And thank you all for your attention and your time. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you both.
Kirk, I'm going to call you in a minute.